Okay, this is part two. We're going to look at this next, but I forgot to say one thing. Maybe it caused you some trouble. I said that when you do this, it will write to the immediate window. But actually, it didn't work for me initially. I don't know if it works on other versions of Visual Studio, but it didn't work for me initially, and I had to change this. I had to go to Debug and go to Options and Settings, and I had to click here, Redirect all output window text to the immediate window. I don't think it worked otherwise. I'll just check it right now. If I uncheck that, try this again. Let's see what happens. And we have 4 now. Let's see what happens. No, didn't work. There's still only 4 there. So I have to check that, at least on my version. And redirect. So if you find another way to do that, please let us know. But otherwise, I think that's what we have to do. Okay, so let's go to this, using code snippets. So they say Visual Basic 2010 comes with a lot of predefined code snippets for selected actions, and you can insert these snippets into your code as needed. Let's say you want to insert the statements for writing some text to a file. So you want the user to write something, and then, or to enter something, and then the result gets saved to a file on their computer, like on their desktop or wherever. But you don't know how to do this. You have no idea how to access files. Create an empty line in your listing. In other words, just have a blank space in your code. Then open the Edit menu and choose IntelliSense, Insert Snippet. So let's just see what that is. So you go to here, and you go to Edit and IntelliSense, and then Insert Snippet. Remember, IntelliSense is that stuff that gives us little messages or tells us the properties when we're typing and so on. Anyway, click on that and you get this. And so you get to these different folders of snippets. Now let me undo that. How do I undo it? Okay, so I'd want to do that somewhere. Like they said, you want to have some blank line. When Insert Snippet opens, you will see a list of the snippets organized in folders according to their function, as shown in the figure. Double-click any folder name to see the subfolders or actual snippets available for that function. Try it out. Double-click the Fundamentals folder. So one of those folders was called the Fundamentals folder. And take a look at the options available to you. Collections, data types, file system, and math. Double-click the file system item to see a list of common file-related tasks as shown in figure there. Scroll down and locate the item Write Text to a File in the list. Now double-click it to insert that snippet in the current location in the code window. And it's going to give us this code, which will write a file under the C drive called this. Now you can change this name, and he says to write some text to a file, you need to call the write all text method of the of this object. Remember we said methods are associated with objects. So the write all text is a method, right? It has these, and it's a method of this object. Okay, you can replace the strings shown in the snippet with actual values. So this is the text that gets written, and that's all you need. And this you can change the location where you want it to go. The first string here is the file name. The second string is the text to be written to the file, and the last argument of the method determines what text will be, whether the text will be appended to the file if false, or will overwrite any existing text. So if you have that file already exists, do you want to overwrite it, or you just want to add the new stuff at the end? Now this here could be some variable that has lots of text in it and that you've been manipulating, and then you want to write all that entire set of text to this file. So this could be a variable. So let's just try it. Go to Edit and IntelliSense and Insert Snippet. And we wanted the one which was here, Fundamentals, and File System here, and create a file, I guess. Yeah. What do we have here? Compare two files, copy a directory, copy a file, create a folder, create a temporary file name, delete a file, determine if a file exists, determine if a folder exists, and there's a lot more. So I don't want to read through them all, but you could look at them. Create a file. So it does what he said, which is here. Okay, so this is the method called write all text, and we're gonna this is the location. So let's call it test2, or call it whatever you want. And string.empty, don't want that, but you could put something like your name. And this will be what is written inside. And false means don't write over an existing file. Okay, and now if you run this, along with everything else that we had, which I'll get rid of this, it will make a file called test2 under my C drive. Let's run it. Run the button. Whoops, didn't like it. Aha. So, it worked before, but it seems like it might have permission problems. So it can't write to that location, maybe. I'll break it, I'll stop. And let's see if we can fix it. Okay, so I checked it, and I used this location instead, and then it worked. So I wrote it to my desktop, and then it worked. It gave me this file here on my desktop. So you can check that yourself. So I guess this program doesn't have permission to write to the C directly under the C drive. So going back to here, each snippet shows you the basic statements for performing a common task, and you can edit the code inserted by Visual Basic as needed. A real-world application would probably prompt the user for a file name first, so you could use an input box, and the user could then choose a name for the file, or here he says you can do it by the file common dialog box, which we've also done, and then use the file name specified by the user in the dialog box instead of a hard-coded file name. So he says, as you program, you should always try to find out whether there's a snippet for the task at hand. Sometimes you can use a snippet without even knowing how it works. Although snippets can simplify your life, they won't help you understand the framework, meaning the Visual Basic language and all of the libraries and so forth that are available to us, which is discussed in detail throughout this book. So if you notice here, we used, this was my. So this is a part of the structure of Visual Basic, that you can use this thing called my. You've probably noticed that the code snippets available through Visual Studio use an entity called my, a peculiar object that was introduced with Visual Basic 2005 to simplify many programming tasks. As you saw in the preceding code snippet, the my component allowed you to write some text to a file with a single statement, right? So we could use this method if we prefaced it with that long thing. Well, here it is, with this, which starts out with my. So we could use this, which is very good, very easy to use, if we can preface it with my. If you're familiar with earlier versions of Visual Basic, you know that to actually write text to a file, you must first open the file, then write some text to it, and finally close it. You had to do a lot more stuff than we had to do. The my component allows you to perform all these operations with a single component. So this it's something that was introduced in 2005 that makes some of these tasks easier. He says, as another example, the play method. Here's a method called play, and it's located here, or it's associated with this object. Another example is the play method, which you can use to play back a WAV file from within your code. So here's the WAV file, and here's the full address of it, and all you have to do is put that in to the play method. But after you access the play method with this object, and so you can do that. Or you can play back a system sound. So you get beeps and different sounds on your system, and if you don't know what the system sounds are, you could just type this and then the dot, right, and then you'd see a whole list, because of the IntelliSense would show you a whole list of different sounds you could access. So you could enter this into your code. So if you wanted to beep at a certain time, you could do that. Again, this uses the my keyword, or the my component, or the my object. He says the method that plays back the sound is the play method, and the method that writes the text to a file is the write all text method. However, you can't call them directly through the my component. They're not methods of the my component. In other words, you can't just write my and then write all text. You have to do it this way, with these computer and file system in there as well. The my component exposes 6 components. So there's my application, there's my computer. So in this one we used what? My computer. But in the other one that he mentioned, we also used my computer. So both of those were my computer, but there are other components. There's my application, there's my computer, there's my forms, settings, user, and web services. So let's look at a few of these quickly. This component exposes a lot of functionality via a number of properties, many of which are objects. So we're getting all confused here. Properties and objects and so on. The mycomputer.audio component lets you play back sounds. The mycomputer clipboard component lets you access the clipboard. So you could do that, and you could say use the clipboard, and then which one contains image, and if it contains an image, so you do this, and then you you do this. You get this, you type that, and what it's going to do is if the user has copied an image, or has copied an image, say from the web, and it's in the clipboard, then if you do this, you're going to capture it, you're going to get access to that image, and then you're pasting it. You can paste it into your here. So you could say, click this button to paste the image into the form, and then in that button you would have this code, and that would get the image, and then when they click the button, this code would get run, and it would get sent to this picture box if you had this picture box. So he says to find out whether the clipboard contains a specific type of data, use the contains text, or contains image, or contains data, or contains audio methods. So you might do, if it contains an image, then do this. That's what they did here. If it contains the image, then do this. If it contains text, then put that in the text box. Okay. To retrieve the contents of the clipboard, use the get text, get image, get data, get audio stream methods. So here we use the get image. Assuming that you have a form with text box control and picture box control, you can retrieve text or image data from the clipboard and display it on the appropriate control with the following statements. Okay, so that's pretty good. But next he says, well, you have to, when you're using this you tend to have to write long things like this: my computer, my application, blah blah blah. He says you can shorten this a little bit with this kind of code. So what you do is so here we had to do this once, and then we had to do it again, and maybe we have to do it many times. So we'd rather not type that every time, he's saying. So what you can do is just say with that. So you're going to be using this multiple times, so you say with that, if, and then instead of having to type this whole thing out, if it contains the image, you write just the last part, because we wrote this already in the with part, in the with clause here. So then all we have to do is put the rest of it, which starts here. So we put the rest of it. Okay, and then we can do the same thing here. We put the rest of it here. So you can do that if you're having to write the same beginning part over and over again. He says when you're executing multiple statements on the same object, you can, so this is the same object, this object. You can specify the object in a with statement and call its methods in the block of the with statement. So you can call this method or this property, and this, I guess this is, I'm not sure if it's a property or a method, but maybe it doesn't matter. The with statement is followed by the name of the object to which all the following methods apply, and is terminated, so it's here. Okay. And is terminated with the and with statement. Another property of my computer component is the file system object that exposes all the methods you need to access files and folders. So we saw that. So here. And you have various methods that are exposed by the file system component. That means the file system component has these various methods that you can use. You can use delete file, delete directory, rename file, rename directory, write all text, read all text. So we saw some of this. He says you will see the syntax of the method in the tooltip. The syntax of the copy file method is here, copy file. It's part of file system under my.computer, and this is the source file that you're trying to copy, and this is the destination file.